The red sands of Mars blew softly across the quiet colony. It was late night and everyone in the dome-shaped homes was asleep, except one man. Eli sat alone near his window, drinking a hot cup of recycled tea. His small home was silent, filled only with the hum of machines. He liked it this way. Peaceful, quiet, safe. But deep inside, he wasn't at peace. He looked up at the stars, thinking about the past. Thinking about her. Years ago, he had loved someone not from Earth. Someone different. Someone alien. Her name was Valira. She had eyes like glowing silver, skin that shimmered under the moonlight, and a voice like wind through trees. She laughed softly. She held his hand like he was the most precious thing in the galaxy, and then she left. No goodbye. No message. Only silence. Like she had never existed. Eli waited for months, then years, and slowly the pain turned into a scar. He told himself she was gone forever. Maybe she never really loved him until tonight. Suddenly a loud thud shook the ground outside his home. Eli stood up fast. He rushed to the window. In the red sand, a strange black ship had landed. It made no sound. It had no lights, it just appeared. The door opened with a hiss and a small floating orb came out. It moved toward his home like it knew him. Eli's heart pounded. The orb stopped at his front door and dropped something, a glowing blue stone. Then the orb flew back to the ship, and the ship rose into the sky like a ghost, gone in seconds. Eli opened the door slowly. The cold air rushed in. He picked up the stone. It felt warm in his hand. Suddenly the stone glowed brighter, and a voice came from it, a voice he knew, a voice he once loved. Eli, it's me, Valira. If you're hearing this, I've broken 100 laws to send this to you. I don't know if you hate me now. I wouldn't blame you if you did, but I need you. Eli froze. His heart stopped for a moment. I'm coming back. I don't expect forgiveness. I only ask that you let me explain. Meet me when the twin moons rise. The voice faded. The stone dimmed. Eli stood there for a long time, holding the cold stone in shaking hands. Was this a trick? A dream? A nightmare? He sat down, eyes wide, mind racing. Why now? After all these years? Where had she gone? Why did she leave? Why was she coming back? He remembered her last words before she disappeared. I have to protect you. Don't follow me. He didn't follow. He stayed. He suffered, and now she returns. Eli didn't know if he should feel angry or hopeful. He walked outside, the red wind blowing in his face. He looked up. The twin moons were rising over the Martian hills. A sign. Suddenly, in the distance, he saw lights in the sky. Not one ship, not two. A fleet. Dark ships, shaped like blades, floating silently above the hills. His hands tightened around the message stone. This was no ordinary visit. Valira was not coming alone. The red dust swirled gently around Eli as he stood outside his home. Above him, the alien fleet hovered like shadows in the sky, silent, cold, watching. He gripped the glowing stone tightly in his hand, still hearing her voice in his mind. Valira. She had returned. Not as the woman he once loved, but as a queen, with ships behind her and secrets in her eyes. The last time he saw her was 5 years ago. Back then, she was not wearing a crown. Back then, she was his wife. 5 years ago, Earth border colony Eli remembered the moment he met her, on a dusty old trade station near Saturn's ring gates. She wasn't like the others. While most aliens passed by with sharp eyes and cold manners, Valira was different. She stood still, staring at a painting of Earth's oceans in a gallery window. Her silver eyes sparkled with curiosity. Eli had walked up beside her and said, "That's the Pacific Ocean. Never been, but they say it smells like salt and freedom." She smiled. "I have never smelled freedom. What does it feel like?" And that was the beginning. They laughed. They shared meals. She learned to drink coffee, then hated it. He taught her how to whistle. She could only hum. She showed him star maps of galaxies he could never imagine. They were two souls from two worlds, quietly falling in love, but their love was a secret. Valira was not just any alien. She was a princess, daughter of a powerful royal family from the Thalorian Empire. Her people believed in keeping bloodlines pure, no mixing, no human lovers, so they ran. They married quietly on a small asteroid church with only one witness, a robot priest with rusty joints. For one whole year, they lived together on the edge of the solar system, far from politics, far from war, far from danger. But peace never lasts. Back to present day, Mars outpost Eli shook the memories away. They were sharp like broken glass. He looked back at the twin moons, still rising, still watching. A soft beep came from his home's console. He stepped inside and saw a message blinking on the screen. Unauthorized landing. Royal flagship. 12 km from colony she was here. His breath caught. She was real. He sat down, the old pain rising like fire in his chest. He remembered the last time he saw her face. Her hands were trembling. Her lips were bleeding from biting them. She had whispered, "They know about us. I have to go. If I don't, they will kill you." And she had vanished before sunrise, no word, no sign, no clue. Until now, unknown location. Royal ship of Valira high above Mars. Inside a dark royal ship, Queen Valira stood in silence. She wore a cloak of black stars, and her silver crown sat heavy on her forehead. But her eyes were not the same. They looked tired, hurt, empty. She stared out the window at the red planet below. "He will hate me," she whispered. A soft voice replied, "He has every right to, Your Majesty." It was her advisor, a pale alien with long robes. "You left him without truth." Valira looked down at a small hollow picture in her hand. Eli's face, smiling, holding her hand, taken long ago on that forgotten asteroid. "I thought I could live without him," she said. "I thought, if I became queen, I could make the galaxy safe for him. For everything." Her voice cracked. The advisor said nothing. "But now," she continued, "the danger is coming. They took what matters most, and only he can help me get it back." Back on Mars, Eli prepares to leave. Eli knew he couldn't just sit and wait. He packed a small bag, one gun, some food, and the stone. His fingers paused on an old photo tucked under a drawer. It was faded, but he could still see their faces. Her head on his shoulder. He stared at it for a long time. Then he slid it into his coat pocket. Outside, a transport pod arrived. He didn't call it, he didn't need to, it was sent by her. As the pod door opened, Eli stepped in, unsure of what he'd find. The door closed behind him with a soft hiss. The pod lifted into the sky, taking him back into a past he never healed from, and a future he never asked for. The transport pod flew silently across the red skies of Mars. Eli sat inside, silent, staring through the clear dome as the desert passed below. His fingers clutched the blue message stone in his pocket, the last piece of her voice. He didn't know what to expect. He didn't know what he'd say. He only knew this. Valira, his ex-wife, the woman who vanished years ago, was no longer a runaway princess. She was now queen, and she wanted to see him. Arrival at the royal ship. The pod slowed and entered the shadow of a massive alien warship, floating above the hills. Its shape was smooth and curved like a sleeping serpent. Its surface shimmered with a liquid-like metal that seemed alive. As the pod docked, a dozen tall alien guards waited in silence. They didn't speak. They didn't smile. They only stared. Eli stepped out slowly. His boots touched the ship's cold silver floor. One guard stepped forward and scanned his face. A soft beep. Then a nod. "This way," the guard said in a deep, emotionless voice. Eli followed. The hallways were wide and glowing. He passed doors that whispered shut, strange symbols on the walls and creatures he didn't recognize, some with wings, others with glowing eyes. No one spoke to him. He was just a human here, a guest or a prisoner. Finally, they reached a tall silver door. It opened slowly, revealing a grand throne room lit by floating lights and blue crystal walls. At the center, on a raised platform, sat Valira. Face to face again, she looked like a dream and a storm at the same time. She wore a long robe woven with stars, a silver crown on her head and an emotionless expression on her face. But her eyes still had that soft silver glow Eli remembered. She stood as he entered. "Eli," she said, her voice calm. "You came." He stared at her, unsure whether to run to her or scream. "You sent warships to my home," he replied. "What did you expect me to do, hide?" A flicker of a smile touched her lips, then disappeared. "I didn't come to fight," she said. "I came to ask for your help." Eli raised an eyebrow. "You disappear for 5 years, become queen of an empire, and now suddenly you need me?" "I didn't want to leave," she said, stepping down from the platform. "I was forced to. I waited for you," he shouted. "I thought you were dead. I thought you abandoned me." "I left to protect you," she said, voice shaking now. "They threatened your life, Eli. My family, my people. If they found out I married a human, they would have killed you." "You should have trusted me," he said bitterly. "We were married, Valera." "I know," she whispered. "And I never stopped being your wife. Even when I wore the crown." There was silence, just the sound of Eli's heartbeat pounding in his ears. Then she said something that froze the air around them. "They took our child." The truth revealed. Eli blinked. "What?" Valera's voice trembled now. "His name is Leorin. He's our son." Eli's knees almost gave out. "A son?" he whispered. "You had a child?" "You never told me what I found out after I left," she said. "I was hiding on a moon base. The moment I knew, I wanted to return, but it was too dangerous." Eli's hand shook. He sat down slowly on the edge of a step, trying to breathe. "He's 5 now," she continued. "He looks like you, smiles like you, but he was taken by rebels who want to use him as a symbol against me, against peace." Eli looked up, eyes burning. "Why me? Why now?" Valera stepped closer. "Because you are his father," she said softly, "and because you're the only one who can get close enough to rescue him. The rebels trust no aliens, but a human, a forgotten man. They won't see you as a threat." Eli looked at her for a long time. This wasn't just about old love anymore. It was about something new, something alive, something worth saving. His son. A new mission. Begins. Eli stood up, straightened his jacket, and took a deep breath. "All right," he said. "I'll do it. For the boy." Valera looked down. "And for you," he added after a pause. "But we do this together. No more lies. No more running." She nodded slowly. "No more," she promised. As they walked toward the war table to begin planning, neither of them saw the small glowing eye blinking in the corner. A spy drone, hidden in the shadows, watching, listening, and sending one message to the rebel base. The Queen has united with the human. Begin the final phase. The warship glided silently through the blackness of space, heading toward the Forbidden Zone, a dead region where no signal escaped and no law applied. Eli stood in front of the wide glass window, watching the stars slide past. The reflection staring back at him didn't look like the man he once was. His face was older, harder. His heart carried both anger and hope, 2 things that could destroy him if he let them. Behind him, Queen Valera entered the room quietly. The sound of her boots on the metal floor echoed softly. "You haven't slept," she said. Eli didn't turn around. "Hard to sleep when I just found out I have a son who's been kidnapped." Her voice lowered. "You have every right to hate me." He faced her then, his eyes sharp but tired. "I don't hate you, Valera, but I don't know if I can trust you." She nodded, accepting it like a wound she expected. "I'll earn that trust," she said, "even if it kills me." A secret chamber later, Valera led Eli into a small chamber deep inside the ship. The walls shimmered faintly, covered in symbols Eli didn't understand. "This is my private chamber," she said softly. "No one but me has ever entered it. Not even my council." She placed her hand on a glowing panel. The wall opened like water, revealing a secret compartment. Inside was a small crystal orb, glowing with a soft golden light. Eli frowned. "What is that?" Valera's voice trembled. "It's a memory orb. It holds everything I couldn't tell you before." The orb floated up and projected a hologram. Eli saw her, Valera, years younger, kneeling before a group of tall, armored aliens. They spoke in harsh tones. "You broke royal law," one of them said. "You married a human. That is forbidden." "I love him," she replied. "He is kind. He saved my life. Then he will die for that kindness." In the memory, Valera screamed and begged. Then her father, the former king, spoke coldly. You will leave him, or we will erase him from the galaxy. The younger Vylera's eyes filled with tears. If I go, will you spare him? Yes, her father said, but you will never see him again. The memory faded. Eli stood frozen, fists clenched. They threatened to kill me. If you stayed, he said slowly. Yes, she whispered, and they meant it, so I left. And the moment I did, they took away my freedom. I was forced to become their puppet queen. I wore the crown, but I was never free. Eli looked down, trying to swallow the pain. You could have told me. If I did, they would have traced the message. They would have come for you. He walked closer, eyes locked on hers. And the child? Vylera's face softened. When I realized I was carrying him, I wanted to run away again. But I couldn't. My own guards betrayed me. The council took Leorin from me the moment he was born. I thought he was safe. Until the rebels took him. Eli rubbed his temples, trying to take it all in. His voice broke. So all these years, you were fighting alone, she nodded. And now I can't win this war without you. The Plan A holographic map appeared in front of them, showing a black planet, twisted, broken, surrounded by debris. That's Avon 9, Vylera said. The rebel stronghold. Leorin is there. Eli studied it. It looks dead. It's worse than dead, she replied. The planet feeds on energy. Any ship that enters without shield coating is torn apart. So how do we get in? She smiled faintly. The same way I met you, by breaking rules. They shared a small laugh, one that felt heavy with old memories. Then Vylera turned serious again. Once inside, you must act like a smuggler. The rebels trust no alien but a lone human. They'll let you close. Eli nodded. And you? I'll be watching, she said, placing her hand on his arm. If things go wrong, I'll burn that planet to the ground myself. Her voice was calm, but her eyes, those silver eyes, burned with fire. A glimpse of the past before they left the chamber. The ship lights flickered for a moment. A strange signal came through the speaker. A child's voice, faint but clear. Mother? Are you there? Vylera's heart stopped. Leorin? They said you wouldn't come for me, the voice said weakly. They said humans lie. The signal cut out. Vylera gasped, holding the orb close to her chest. Tears filled her eyes for the first time. Eli stepped forward and placed his hand gently on her shoulder. He's alive, Eli said softly, and we're going to bring him home. She looked at him, her voice trembling. Even after everything I did, you still believe me? He met her gaze and said, I don't believe you, Vylera. I feel you. That's stronger. As the ship entered hyperspace toward Avon 9, a silent alarm blinked deep inside the rebel base. A masked figure watched the incoming signal from Vylera's ship and whispered, Let them come. The Queen, the human, and their little secret will end here. The stars vanished the moment the ship entered the forbidden zone. No signal, no light, no sound, only darkness. Outside the warship's shield, Avon 9 waited, a broken black planet wrapped in a storm of debris and ancient metal. From space, it looked like a dying world, but inside it was alive with hatred, rebels, and weapons, and somewhere in its heart, a child waited, Eli's child, Vylera's child, their son, the final plan inside the war room. A blue light lit up the hollow faces of the Queen's team. Vylera pointed to a hidden path through the debris storm. This narrow gap is the only way in, she said. Our main ship will stop at the edge. You'll continue in a stealth pod. Eli stared at the map. No weapons? If you carry one, they'll scan it. You'll be killed on sight. He frowned. So I go in blind. Vylera looked at him. You go in, as a father. A soft silence filled the room. Then Eli nodded. Give me something to prove who I am. To him, he said. Something that only he would know. Vylera reached into her cloak and pulled out a small, worn music chip. This was his favorite lullaby, she whispered. Play it near him. He'll remember. Eli took the chip carefully, like it was made of glass, then without another word, he walked to the launch bay. The stealth pod was small, dark, and cold. As Eli sat alone inside, the ship shook violently while entering the atmosphere. Fire and dust slammed against the pod's shield. Warning lights blinked. Pressure dropped. But he held on. He wasn't just a man on a mission now. He was a father chasing the shadow of a child he had never met. The pod crashed hard into the surface. Dust rose. Silence returned. Eli crawled out into the ruins of Avon 9. What he saw looked like a forgotten city. Towers half broken. Streets buried in ash. Metal statues melted into the sand and eyes, dozens of eyes watching him from the shadows. He raised his hands. No weapons, he said. Loudly, slow footsteps approached. Figures with masks and glowing tattoos stepped into the light. One of them, a tall female with sharp silver teeth, studied him. "You're not one of us," she growled. "I'm not here to fight," Eli replied. "I came alone." "Then you're a fool," she said. "Or bait," she snapped her fingers. The others grabbed him. Inside the rebel fortress, the rebels dragged Eli into an underground base built from broken alien ships. It smelled of smoke and rust. He was thrown into a chair, arms tied behind his back. The leader stepped forward, a masked figure in black armor. "You are the Queen's old toy," the voice said coldly. "Why are you here?" "I came for my son," Eli said. "Leorin," the figure laughed. "That boy doesn't belong to you." "He has my blood," Eli said. "And he deserves the truth." The rebel leader paused, then said, "We'll see." He turned to a guard. "Bring the boy." Father and son. A few minutes later, a door opened. A young boy was pushed into the room, about 5 years old, with pale blue skin, dark hair, and sharp silver eyes. He looked scared, confused. Eli's breath caught in his chest. "Leorin," he whispered. The boy looked at him. "Who are you?" Leorin asked in a small voice. Eli slowly took the music chip from his pocket and pressed a button. A soft melody began to play. Leorin froze. His eyes widened. I know the song," he said. "My voice sang it to you," Eli whispered, tears in his eyes. "My heart made it for you." Leorin stepped closer. The guards raised their weapons, but the rebel leader held up a hand. "Wait." Leorin looked into Eli's eyes. "Are you my father?" Eli nodded. "Yes." The boy reached out a trembling hand, but just then the wall shook. An alarm rang. The lights turned red. "Queen's forces are breaching the outer gate." Chaos exploded. A choice in the fire. The rebel leader turned to Eli. "You brought her here." "I didn't," Eli shouted. "She's not here to fight. She just wants him safe." The leader's mask came off, revealing a Thalorian woman with scars over her face. "She was my sister once," she spat. "Before the crown made her a traitor." Guards raised their guns toward Leorin. Eli jumped in front of him. "No. He's just a child." The leader paused, watching Eli, breathing hard. Then she said, "You'd die for him, even though you never knew him?" Eli replied, "I would die 1,000 times. He's my son." Silence. Then the leader lowered her weapon. "Take him," she said. "But the Queen, she will answer for her sins." As explosions echoed in the distance, Eli grabbed Leorin's hand and ran toward the escape tunnel. The planet shook behind them, and in the skies above, Valera's wrath was just beginning. Above the dark skies of Avon 9, Queen Valera stood at the edge of her warship's command deck. Her cloak of stars flowed behind her. Her silver crown gleamed under flashing red lights. But her face, it was no longer calm, it was war. Her son was somewhere on that planet, alone or worse, and Eli, the man she once left to protect, hadn't responded for over an hour. That silence? It was a scream in her heart. "Begin assault protocol," she said coldly. Her generals hesitated. "Your Majesty, if we attack now?" She turned toward them, her voice sharp as a blade. "If my son dies, the planet dies with him. The storm begins from the belly of the royal ship." Thunderships dropped like hammers. They tore through the rebel shields with plasma trails, shaking the ground. Explosions painted the sky. The people of Avon 9, who had whispered the Queen's name in hate for years, now saw what she truly was, not just a ruler, a mother, a fury, a storm, underground, escape and fire deep in the tunnels. Eli held Leorin close as the walls shook around them. Dust fell from the ceiling. Pipes hissed. Alarms screamed. The child was trembling. "Are they coming for us?" Leorin asked. Eli wiped dust from the boy's cheek. "No, buddy. They're coming for you." He looked back. The rebel tunnels were collapsing. He had to move fast. But ahead, 2 rebel guards blocked the path. "You're not leaving," one said. "Orders are to keep the boy." Eli stepped in front of Leorin, arms wide. "He's not a symbol. He's a child, the second guard hesitated. He's royal blood. He'll grow into a weapon. He'll grow into what we teach him to be, Eli snapped. So let me teach him right. For a long moment, no one moved. Then from above, a blast of blue light hit the tunnel roof. The ceiling cracked. The guards ran. Eli grabbed Leorin and dove just before the stone fell behind them, blocking the path forever. Above ground, the Queen Lands Valyra stepped onto Avon 9 with an army behind her. The planet groaned under her boots. Rebel soldiers aimed their weapons at her, but her guards struck first. Bolts of light, crashing steel, screams in the smoke. Valyra didn't blink. She walked through it all, eyes sharp, heart burning. Eli, Leorin, where are you? Her voice reached no one, but her fury reached everyone. Reunion in the fiery lane, and Leorin climbed out from a sewer tunnel onto the surface, just as a nearby building exploded. The sky was orange fire war. Leorin stared, stunned. Is this what my mother does? Eli kneeled in front of him. She's not just a queen. She's your mom, and she thought she lost you. That's why she's angry. A ship landed nearby, one of Valyra's. The doors opened, and she ran out. No crown. No guards, just her. When she saw Leorin, she froze. Tears filled her eyes. Leorin, she whispered. The boy stared. Are you really my mother? She nodded, breath shaking. Yes, and I'm sorry I left you. He didn't speak, he didn't run. He walked slowly toward her and hugged her tight. I heard your voice, he said. In the music. Valyra fell to her knees, wrapping her arms around him, crying into his hair. I'll never leave you again, she promised. Eli watched from a few steps back, silent. Then Valyra looked up at him. You brought him back, she said. You kept him safe, Eli nodded. He's ours. Always has been. The Queen's warning. Suddenly a blast hit nearby. The three ducked. The rebel leader stepped out of the shadows, face scarred, eyes burning with rage. She aimed her weapon at them. Your rule ends here, sister, she growled. You brought this fire to us. Now you'll burn with it. Valyra stood tall. No, you brought the fire when you took my child. The rebel leader stepped closer. You chose a human. You betrayed your people. I chose peace, Valyra replied. You chose hate. She raised her hand, a silent signal. Suddenly, from all sides, Valyra's guards surrounded the rebel soldiers, swords drawn. Guns ready. The rebel leader looked around. Outnumbered, defeated, but still proud. You've become your mother, she hissed. No, Valyra said softly. I became better. Then she turned to her guards. Let her live, she ordered. Let them all live. My son doesn't need a kingdom built on blood. The sky clears as the warship lifted them away from Avon 9. The fires below began to die. The Queen had made her choice, and so had her enemies. Inside the ship, Leorin sat between Eli and Valyra. They watched the stars return together. Eli looked over. What happens now? He asked. Valyra smiled faintly. Now we stop running. We start something new. She reached for Eli's hand. This time he didn't pull away. The stars above Avon 9 faded into the distance as the royal ship broke free from the dead planet's orbit. Inside the ship, Eli, Valyra, and Leorin sat together for the first time, as a family. No one spoke for a long time. The silence was warm. It wasn't the silence of pain or confusion. It was the silence of healing. The morning after, or the next morning, the ship floated quietly near a blue gas giant. No war, no alarms, just peace. Eli stood near the window, sipping a warm drink. Leorin slept nearby on a soft couch wrapped in a silver blanket. Valyra walked in, her long hair loose, her crown gone. Just a woman now. Not a queen. Eli looked at her and smiled weakly. I thought this day would never come. She stepped beside him. Me too, he turned to her. Are we safe now? She nodded. The rebels are retreating. My sister surrendered. The council fears your return, but they won't challenge me, not after Avon 9. Eli laughed a little. So you scared them into silence? She gave a soft smile. Sometimes peace begins with fear, but it must grow into something better. A decision to make later that day. Valyra sat in the royal court chamber with her top advisors. They argued in whispers. nervous glances darting toward Eli and Leorin, who waited outside. One advisor stood. "Your Majesty, this child has human blood. Some in the Empire will never accept him." Valira stood slowly, her voice quiet but strong. "Then they do not belong in the future I will build." Another counselor asked, "And the human? Will you marry him again? Make him king?" She paused. Outside the door, Eli stood with his hand on Leorin's shoulder, unaware of the storm behind the wall. Finally, Valira answered, "He is already more royal than any of you. He went into a rebel stronghold alone. He protected my child. He faced death with no power, no army, just love. That makes him worthy." Her words echoed across the hall like thunder. The council went silent. They knew. The Queen had spoken. A new beginning in the evening. A gathering was held aboard the ship. Not a royal celebration, not a victory speech, but something smaller. More personal. A quiet garden on the observation deck. Alien flowers glowing in soft colors. Stars above like diamonds. Valira stood before a few trusted allies. She wore no crown, no weapons, just a simple dress of deep blue. Eli wore a black jacket given by the guards. Too big in the sleeves, but it made him smile. Leorin stood between them, holding both their hands. Valira turned to Eli. "I once left you to protect you, but I won't leave again. Not as a queen, not as a woman, not as a mother." She reached into her cloak and pulled out 2 old rings, the same ones they once wore on that distant asteroid. "I kept them," she whispered, "even when I was forced to forget you." Eli took one slowly, his hand shaking. "I never stopped being your husband," he said. "Even when I hated you." They slid the rings onto each other's fingers again, and this time, they meant forever. The child's choice that night, Valira knelt before Leorin. "You don't have to stay with me in the palace," she said softly. "You're free to choose." Leorin looked at her. Then at Eli, then back again. He smiled. "I don't want a palace," he said. "I just want both of you." Valira wrapped her arms around him, and Eli joined them in a quiet embrace. It wasn't about thrones anymore, it was about family. One last message weeks later. The Queen stepped onto the grand balcony of her capital. Before her stood a massive crowd of Thalorian citizens and envoys from other worlds. Eli stood at her side. Leorin held his hand. Valira raised her voice. "I was once told to choose between my people and my love, between the crown and the heart." She looked out at them all. "I refuse to choose. I choose both." She pointed to Eli. "This man is your king, not by blood, but by courage." She rested a hand on Leorin's shoulder. "This child is the future of our world, not because of his power, but because of his truth." Cheers echoed across the city. For the first time in history, a human stood as king beside a Thalorian queen, and their son, the bridge between 2 worlds, smiled proudly under the twin suns. Epilogue, home later that evening. Back in their quiet royal quarters, Eli sat with Leorin watching stars from the window. Valira came in and sat beside them. No war. No lies, no regrets, just 3 souls who had been torn apart by fate, now stitched together by love. As the ship drifted through space, Eli whispered the same words he told her long ago. "That's the Pacific Ocean. Never been. But they say it smells like salt and freedom." Valira laughed, leaned against him and said, "Now I know what freedom smells like. It smells like you."